So yeah, my name is Michael Nolan, not Jason Joseph. Not quite as good looking as Jason, but I will do my best on this project. So I'm the CFO of Trilogy, and actually I came from a different industry. Worked with Jason in real estate prior to this last industry, but when I really heard about BTR, I never really saw the ability to get into like a new asset class, which which made as much sense to me. BTR, I think there's a lot of advantages to BTR. I think number one, the U.S., as you guys have all heard, the headlines, we are in a massive housing shortage. John Burns puts it at 2.1 million units today, forecasted to be 6 to 9 million units of housing behind in the U.S., which are just staggering numbers. So I think that's a major reason BTR is able to fill that gap. Number two is the affordability crisis. The affordability crisis really timed along with the shifting demographics. So right now in the US, millennials make up the biggest age group in the country. Second to that is baby boomers. Millennials typically lived in apartments, but now they're in their late 20s or early 30s. They're starting to get married. They have a dog, maybe they have a kid, maybe they have two kids. And at this time, homes are more unaffordable than ever. It's very hard to make the average home price in the US is 420,000 right now. That equates to $3,000, $3,500 mortgage. It's very hard for a lot of people to buy those. So BTR is really feeling that need of the biggest class in the US being millennials. The other one is baby boomers. We all know baby boomers were the biggest generation for a very long time. They are starting to sell their primary homes, wanting to live somewhere more coastal, wanting to downside, and BTR kind of fills that advantages for them. I'd also say there's a lot of advantages to investors. Number one, I mentioned that earlier, was that building that when you buy a project, you don't need to wait till the project's completed. You can start to listen up. Another one is in BTR, residents stay much longer than a typical multifamily. The average lease of a multifamily building is about 1 year. In BTR, that's closer to 3.1 years. That has a lot of positive ramifications. Number one, a lot lower turnover costs. You don't need to go out and find new tenants, lower lease rates. So a lot of advantages with that. So overall, we're really bullish on BTR and excited about this fund we're working on with Pinnacle.
Hey, Mike, maybe, and maybe Jill, you can talk about this, but I like how Jason talks about the difference between SFR when we've all kind of lived in communities as we were children, and there was maybe a rental home in your neighborhood. Yeah. Everybody knew who the renter was, but how this is different, right?
Yeah, I think that's another really positive for our residents, and what we're trying to do at Trilogy along with Pinnacle is really build community. That's the number one thing we talk about when we're building these projects or purchasing these projects. It's really building that community for our residents. And one of the main ways that happens is that, I guess you call it that stigma and I'm sure everybody's been on the phone. You live in a neighborhood, you have one rental house. It's usually not kept up quite as well. The grass is a little overgrown. Maybe it hasn't been painted in a couple of years, and the renters live there, right? And it's just kind of a stigma when you live in the one rental on a block versus in BTR, it's a community of renters. The owners are keeping up the property, so beautiful landscaping, beautiful roofs, beautiful painting, very low maintenance living, which is another big advantage for the residents of living in BTR. And so we believe that it's a big draw that, when you turn 32, you just got married, you had a kid, you're living in a 800 square foot, 2-bedroom apartment with your wife. The baby's in the other room. You have no storage. So now you need to go somewhere to live. You can't quite afford that $450,000 house. So you take that interim step. You move into NODA. You have a garage. You have a small backyard. You have a community area, and you're with a lot of people very much like you. So it really builds a great sense of community.